How are you finding it being back at it now a couple of weeks? How's training been going? How's everyone settling back in?
It's been fabulous, really, to be honest. After 4 months of lockdown, I suppose, in particular, to be able to get back into that type of environment where there's people and you can converse and chat, work on a few bits and pieces. Yeah, and to be fair to the players, they're in great form after coming back, well freshened up after the few months off, as are all the coaches and everybody working around them. And it's been a very, very good 2 weeks. How's
the panel all fit and raring to go? Have you any niggling injuries or any new lads coming in?
Listen, there's a couple of lads after joining the group this year. Cathal O'Neill from Kokora, Colin Coughlin from Ballybrown, and Tommy Hayes from Doon have joined us, and Barry Murphy from Doon has rejoined us, and they've settled in really, really well, making a huge contribution. And it's always great to see some fresh faces about the place. And it's one thing our group is very good at, is introducing new members to the group and helping them to settle in very, very quickly.
And I'm sure that's something that's needed, John, with a team that did it all really last year, 13 games, 13 wins. You need that, I suppose, influx of new talent and Barry as well coming back in to drive them on.
Yeah, listen, you can't have enough competition. That's the bottom line. And these guys are able to mix it, and they're very, very exciting young players. They have to start their career at some point. And, from our experience over the last number of years, it takes a bit of time to settle in. It takes a bit of time to find their feet, to get used to the whole regime of the training regime, and so many nights a week, involved in it. Balancing that then with, obviously, for the two guys, Colin and Cathal, they're doing their leaving cert, so trying to balance that with that at the moment is a challenge for them. But you have to start somewhere. They've come through the academy, they're well prepared for it, and from what I've seen over the last 2 weeks, there are two lads that will be involved, please God, with Limerick for quite some time to come.
Thanks, John.
John, I suppose, has there been any difference this year in that you've had no club games prior to the start of the inter-county season, with regards to kind of, getting a read on fellas or form or anything like that? Or is it just a case of every county in the same boat and drive on with it?
Oh, yeah. Listen, it was the strangest of returns, You find yourself in Rathkeil of a fine summer sunny evening instead of a wet, windy, freezing cold November for pre-season. There's a world apart. The pitch was in great order. It was solid, lovely coat of grass on it. To be fair to the lads that are looking after the pitches, they have a great job done them over the spring. Even though it's been a cool spring and there hasn't been a lot of growth, but the pitches are in good nick. So I'm sure all the counties are enjoying this type of return to play, in these conditions, as opposed to what we would have been accustomed to. So that's different, and very different, really. And long evenings as well. It's just a complete flip of what we would normally be facing in November, December, January, February. Massive difference. I think the split season definitely has a lot of support out there from the player and coaches and backroom team members who would have ordinarily been out in the wetsuits on a November and December evening. No comparison. Yeah, no comparison.
John, is it a bit of a relief preparing a team and not have the distractions of the Fitzgibbon Cup or the concluding stages of the club championship?
Sure. Listen, I haven't even thought about those things, to be quite honest, Matt. We're just living in the moment, I suppose, now. We were very anxious to get back, number one, and get going. We were all beginning to get a little bit itchy, I suppose. 4 months is quite a long time for us not to be in action. And obviously they weren't in action with anybody else either when they weren't with us. So everybody was ready to get back and get going. The time of the year was there for looking forward to getting out in the evenings and going hurling. Obviously, for schools games, I'm inside in school. We've had no school game all year since last September. We're not going to have any schools games this year. That is a massive thing not to happen. It's just unbelievable to think that no college or schools games were held this year, and last year's ones weren't finished, and won't be, for maybe ever, and that's just the way it is. So yeah, that's a loss. The third level college, listen, they didn't even have their lectures in college, let alone play sport for the college, so again, massive loss to everybody not to be involved in that. It's really a major part of being part of your school or your college to represent them if you're interested in sport, in no matter what that sport might be. So yeah, these are all huge things that people have lost out on. But please God, next year we'll be very much looking forward to getting back on the fields with those students in our school and in other schools. And hopefully our panellists that are in college and eligible to play Fitzgibbon Cup will be back playing Fitzgibbon Cup again next January and February.
John, the Cork game is the fourth game in the sequence. It's the second last game. It could be a huge game both for Limerick and for Cork. You have much preferred if it was a slight bit further out from the championship game?
You would, Matt. Yeah, I suppose. Listen, it's again, it's a case of living in the now. I suppose really for us, the most important thing right now is preparations for the game on Saturday night. Considerations towards what's going to happen later on in the summer are way off in the distance. Our focus is really on the physical preparation of the players, getting their hurling up to speed. Just assimilating the group and the new players into the group, and driving the standards on as best we can. The location of that game to the championship is not really going to have any bearing really on the results later on. It's all about trying to find players to want to hold on to the jersey that they have, in the first instance, for those that will say are coming off the back of last season who want to hold on to that jersey in the position they're in, and those that were unfortunate not to make it onto the starting 15 to go and fight as hard as they can to try and get that jersey from them. So the next 5 weeks, I think, rather than having a viewpoint towards what might come later on in the summer, I think most of the players will be very, very focused on the here and now, and whenever they get that opportunity to be on the pitch to make an impact, that they do that, and that if they get a chance to start with a jersey in their back, that they'll try to start make sure that the performance is worthy of them starting the next day with that jersey in their back. So I think that's really where the focus is right now. And from what I've seen over the last 2 weeks, I've been extremely happy with the attitude that the players have brought to the table thus far.
Final one from me, John. I know it's something you're very strong about. Have you got any direction yet as to how many of the squad and the backroom team can attend the match there?
Yes, that old bugbear, that old chestnut, Matt, is still there. We haven't. That's the status at the moment. I'm waiting to see now. Actually, after getting a message from Mike Reardon here while we're talking, because we are expecting clarity around. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Actually, we're looking for clarity around the numbers, and we haven't got it just yet. So at the moment, we're operating off the premise that it will be the exact same as it was pre All-Ireland final. That's what we're expecting it to be. We mightn't necessarily agree with it, but that's what we're expecting. I think from next Monday, 50 can go to Mass, so maybe 50 can go to the Gaelic Grounds. But listen, we'll see. We just have to be patient, I suppose, Matt. We're all like those cattle at the door of the shed now at the moment, busting to get to the front and to be the first out onto the pitch. There's a few weeks, if we can get the next 2 weeks hopefully under our belt, I'd be hoping that things will revert back to maybe a level of restriction that we could manage, to get the panelists to the matches. Yeah, that's what we're hoping.
Thanks very much, John. Best of luck.
Sorry, Matt. It took me a long time to say what I wanted to say there. Sorry. I'm out of practice after 4 months, Matt. I haven't spoken to a journalist since December.
John, ahead of Saturday, if you have any injury concerns, I know it's been a very short training regime, but I'd seen people flagging it, there was potential for injury with, ramping up of training quite quickly. So have you any concerns ahead of the game the weekend?
Listen, I'll be honest with you, even before I came on to you there, I was on to the phone to our lads because, we trained obviously Friday, Sunday, and a few boys have reported a few little bits and pieces, niggly bits and pieces, but listen, all told, I'd be very happy with where we're at. We've a few niggles. We'll see how they'll plan out over the course of the week. I would be saying that my intention is that we will only play and use players who are fully fit in the first couple of weeks, no matter what happens. Do you know what I mean? We will not be taking any chances with any players that have any particular concern. In order to give them the greatest chance of having, a full run at the season. The last thing I want to do is put a fella out who's carrying it, even if it's only a 5% niggle. I wouldn't be inclined to take the chance. I'd rather, take the opportunity to give somebody else a run. That's really where we're at. It has been a little bit on the tight side. You know what I mean? It's been a quick run in. We're straight into competition now next weekend, but I think everybody's just champing at the bit to get going at the same time, so I don't think anybody's got any concerns or regrets about it. I think we're all just anxious to get on with it now. Sure, if we didn't have a competitive game next weekend, we'd probably be going off looking for a challenge match or something like that, so I think it's time just to get on with it. Let's see how we get on.
And you mentioned the 4 new faces, or the 3 plus, I suppose, Barry Murphy come back to the panel. Has anyone, I know Tom Condon's obviously retired, that's well documented, but has anyone else maybe in the extended panel, have they moved on, or has there only been any changes in that regard?
No, we're as we were last year. Paddy O'Loughlin has stepped away just for a period of time for personal reasons, but that's his own business. But we have, I think we've 38 on the panel at the moment, training. So that's as is. I suppose it's amazing, even with that number, when you go to have an in-house game, you might, with a few knocks and issues that fellas might be carrying, you might still be lucky to have 30 for an in-house game. So it's a necessary thing to have that many involved right now. And I'm sure other panels are finding the exact same thing, because after a 4-month layoff, you have to be particularly careful with your players that you don't, if you're short one for a 15 on 15, and you have one guy who's got a bit of a knock, I'd rather leave him on the sideline than have to bring him in to make up the numbers. So it's always great to just have that extra few players involved. And listen, we have a few exciting young players coming through, and we're anxious to have a look at them and to help them develop and to assimilate them into the group. That's really important to us right now.
The final one for me, John, the couple of under-20 players, Colin Coughlin and Carl O'Neill, was it conscious in your decision to bring them into the panel? Obviously, they've shown well for their clubs and indeed for the Limerick underage teams. Was it a conscious decision, though, the fact that they won't be able to train with the under-20s and for the foreseeable, that that this would be an ideal opportunity to bring them into the scene when they don't have any other, I suppose, outlet at the minute for training?
No, it's simply on merit and on performance they're in. Simple as that. Colin was superb for his club, Ballybrown, last year. And Cahill was superb for the under-20s. And both have a very strong pedigree coming through the academy. And, even looking at last year's minor team, there's thankfully a lot of players coming through of quality and of note. And it's really good for us to know that pipeline of player is coming through, and we have to be cognizant of that and really challenge ourselves to bring these guys through when they're ready and when they come out of the academy, and prepare them for the next stage in their career.
Hi John, Pat Nolan here. Just wondering, in terms of injuries, is it fair to say that at this stage Richie English is fully rehabilitated and ready to go, and just how far off would Mike Casey be at this stage?
Richie English, could have played in the All-Ireland final. Richie was ready last December. Richie he's ready plus 4 months, plus 5 months nearly. So Richie's absolutely 110%. That injury is finished, done with, over. Mike Casey is doing extremely well. He's making tremendous progress, but again, similar to my comments earlier, we will not be putting him into a situation where we're pushing him forward, faster than it needs to be. He has milestones he needs to achieve. He's working very hard towards those milestones. Mark Melbourne is doing fantastic work with him, and I'm very happy with the progress he's making. Yeah.
Is the championship achievable for him?
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I'd be hopeful. Okay,
and just with the structure of the league, you obviously have your 5 matches, but there's no quarterfinals, no semi-finals, and there might not even be a final. So, how do you feel about that format? Would you be critical of it? Does it reduce the competition to just a kind of glorified series of challenge games?
I most certainly wouldn't use the phrase glorified series of challenge games. Most definitely not. Listen, every intercounty team that takes to the field, number one, they want to win their match. I can guarantee you that. And where you have every team going out that wants to win their match, you're going to have very, very competitive games. You have a lot of players who are looking to stake a claim for a championship, which is only literally around the corner. They'll want to get into their rhythm and find their form early doors as well. And, within their panels, respectively, there's going to be a lot of competition. So in that circumstance, you're going to find players are really going to push themselves to maximize their performance levels in the weeks ahead. I think we could have some cracking games in the weeks ahead. And I most certainly don't expect this to be a damn squib, I can assure you that. I think our group, looking at our fixtures, we've got Tipperary, Galway, Waterford, Cork, Westmeath. That is a very, very competitive group, and some really, really tough matches in there. So it's ideal in terms of the competition itself. I know. Listen, we'd like an extra couple of weeks to play out a final series of games to determine the winner, but the time wasn't there, and we have to respect the clubs and get the competitions finished in time for the clubs to have a meaningful period of time in August, September, and October. That's really important. So if that means that our league competition is hiated this year, so be it. But we're still getting 5 games, and that's a lot. That's a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So we're happy, Pat. We're happy.
John, how's it going? Jason Byrne here. How are you?
Jason, how are you?
Good. Come here, John. What was your reaction when the GAA lost its elite status in January?
I didn't realise they had lost it. For the most part, I kind of switched off. I would have expected us to get back maybe a couple of weeks earlier, but listen, everybody was being extremely cautious. Never being cautious. The government were being cautious. Schools were a priority. I know that from my own experience, and that has been a challenge. We have some kids who've only been back to school a couple of weeks. That's the bottom line. And the GAA really couldn't get back. Being a community-led organisation, it couldn't really go back prior to the schools being fully reopened. I think that was just the premise on it. And we kind of all understood that and respected it. And, hopefully short-term pain will give us some long-term gain.